What's up guys, my name is Calvin Wiley and welcome to my YouTube channel. People who are interested in keeping a tarantula for the first time usually ask me the question, what kind of tarantula should I get? And in this video, I'm going to be showing you what kind of tarantula would be best for you as a beginner who has no experience keeping tarantulas or other types of spiders, as well as exploring your options and where to best buy a tarantula. So without further ado, let's get right into the video. Now, before I continue with the rest of this video, I'm sure that many of you who are subscribed to me probably noticed that my hair is missing. So once every 2 years, I typically cut it all off. I just restart. So if you like how my hair was before, just know that it will be back slowly but surely. Now, this video is directed mainly for people who have never owned a tarantula in their life. If you've done any bit of research on tarantulas, you'll see that there are many different species of tarantulas in the world. And because of that, it can be very hectic and very confusing on which one you should get as your first tarantula. Just to give a quick overview about tarantulas, tarantulas are a group of spiders within the spider family known as Theraphosidae, and they can be found on all continents except for Antarctica. Now, tarantulas range in size depending on species. You have some small species of tarantulas, usually classified as dwarf species, and then you have some medium to large species, such as this Brachypelma hamorii, the Mexican red-knee tarantula, and then you have some that are just very gigantic, those typically in the genus Theraphosa, the Goliath bird eaters, and other related species of that genus. With there being many different species of tarantulas, there are also many different tarantulas that come in a wide variety of colors. There's tarantulas with blues on their bodies, purple hues, and orange, and reds, and greens, and just about every color you could think of, there's a tarantula with that color on its body. Tarantulas also have several different ways of living depending on the species. There's tarantulas that are classified as arboreal, which live on and inside of trees. There's also terrestrial species like the one I'm holding that live above the ground. There's also tarantulas that live under the ground too, and those are called fossorial tarantulas. Tarantulas are also classified depending on where they are native to in the world. So there are New World tarantulas, and then there are Old World tarantulas. I'll explain more on the differences of Old World and New World tarantulas later on in the video, but just know there are two different types or groups of tarantulas. A tarantula can make a great addition for those who have a very busy schedule, and they can also be used as sort of a stepping stone into transitioning into caring for other animals due to the fact that they don't require much maintenance. Now, when it comes to tarantulas, there are many different genera of them. If you are unfamiliar with what genera is the plural word for genus. Genus being singular, genera being plural. And so within tarantulas, there are many different genera, but I mean, honestly, and many other tarantula keepers can probably attest to this, there are some genera that are far more, I guess you could say, beginner friendly than others. And so I'm going to be just giving you a few examples or a few recommendations of some genera that are extremely beginner friendly. The first being the genus Brachypelma. And so this tarantula that I'm holding right now is within that genus. This is Brachypelma hamorii, commonly referred to as the Mexican red-knee tarantula. Just from my experience alone, this is one of, if not the most friendliest, most gentle, most docile, easiest to care for genus of tarantulas, arguably, out there. I mean, you can't go wrong with a Brachypelma as your first tarantula. The genus Brachypelma honestly has some of the most gentle and most docile species of tarantula when it comes to handling, when it comes to care. I mean, they're extremely hardy. This species alone can live over 25 years. Well, the females at least, not the males, the females. But yeah, you can't go wrong with a species of Brachypelma. Another beginner-friendly genus of tarantula would be Aphanopelma. Now, the genus Aphanopelma, people typically have Aphanopelma chalcodes, which is the Arizona blonde tarantula, and also Aphanopelma hensi, which is the Texas brown tarantula. Again, this is another great genus of tarantula that is great for handling, very hardy in care. The females live pretty long, and so again, another great recommendation. Another beginner-friendly genus would be the genus Grammostola. Now, the genus Grammostola, people typically have Grammostola rosea, which is the rosehair tarantula. Now, when I'm saying all this and listing the different genera, that doesn't mean that you only have to pick between the two, like Grammostola rosea or what was the other one? Like Brachypelma hamorii or like Brachypelma vagans or whatever. You have to do your own independent research when choosing a species of tarantula. I'm only giving you just little bits and tidbits of information. Just know that within each genus, there's many different species within that particular genus of tarantula. It doesn't have to be the two that I list here on video. I just want to throw that out there. There are many, many different species within each particular genus. It's crazy. And so I just wanted to throw that out there. Now, the fourth and final genus of tarantula that I recommend getting as a beginner is also a New World genera of tarantula, but it is also an arboreal genera of tarantula, and this genus is Avicularia. Now, Avicularia, commonly referred to as pink toes. There's many different species of pink toes within that genus. Like I said about the other ones as well. I wouldn't recommend handling them. They are more so a beginner species in terms of care. Extremely easy to keep. Can't really handle them. So if it's a tarantula you're not looking to handle, that's fine. They are a bit skittish, but again, the care requirements are far more better than some other genera of tarantulas that are arboreal. Hey guys, I just want to make you all aware of some new products that I've added to my website. First are the t-shirts. I have them available in two different designs, the Southern Black Widow and also the Earthworm. These shirts are unisex and range in sizes small to extra large and will come in 3 different colorways: black, white, and gray. They're available for pre-order and will be shipped February 15th. Another cool thing added to my website are a limited collection of framed arthropods. These arthropods have all died from natural causes, mostly due to old age, and have been personally pinned and framed by me. One of my most popular stickers, the European Hornet, I now converted into a keychain. For those of you who are into keychains, I have for sale, only available in one option, the European Hornet. Lastly, the stickers that most of you are familiar with are still up for sale on my website. So head on over to my website to see what you like. And as always, thank you so much for supporting my small business. So I just wanted to explain why a New World terrestrial species of tarantula is recommended, especially for someone who has never owned a tarantula. The reason for that is because New World tarantulas, for several different reasons, they tend to be more docile than those of Old World tarantulas. Old World tarantulas tend to be a lot more defensive and prone to biting because of that. New World tarantulas, not saying you will never get bitten by a New World tarantula. I've never been bitten by my female Mexican red-knee tarantula, but, things can obviously happen. I always say to people who ask, do tarantulas bite, or if has she ever bitten me? I always say, no, she's never bitten me, but she has the capability or potential to. She has the capability to bite her prey, so therefore she has the capability to bite me. And the potential to do that, obviously, for whatever reason that may be. Most New World species of tarantulas also have mild venom, as opposed to Old World tarantulas who have pretty potent venom. And so I'm not saying Old World tarantula venom is going to unalive you if you are envenomated, but it is a lot stronger in potency, and some of these symptoms are a bit more severe, and they could be problematic later on in life. Most New World species, not all of them, but most of them also possess urticating hairs on their abdomen. That's where the tarantula uses its hind legs to flick off tiny hairs, which can become embedded in your skin, or they can go in your eyes, nose, mouth, and can cause some serious issues. Old world tarantulas, all species of old worlds, lack urticating hairs, and that's why they have pretty potent venom. It kind of makes up for what they lack. Now, you probably noticed that the scenery of the background has changed, and that is because I switched locations and where I was filming, but I also switched the tarantula that I was holding as well. And so this is my juvenile female Poecilotheria metallica, the Goody Sapphire tarantula. You might have remembered her in my video if you've seen the Goody Sapphire tarantula video, but this is that same one. And so the reason why I'm holding her is to show you the difference in an old world arboreal species. And so if you've seen the video of the Goody Sapphire tarantula video, then you'll know that this is one of, if not the most venomous species of tarantula in the world. And they are also arboreal, and they are lightning fast and very skittish. Now, the fortunate thing with her is that I handle her quite frequently, and she is pretty, I would say, good at being handled as opposed to some other Poecilotheria metallica that I've handled in the past, and just arboreal old world species in general. But as you can see, she is doing, pretty good. She's not running off and darting into a corner or a crevice that I cannot get to. But anyway, this is an example of what not to get as your first tarantula species. This is an old world arboreal, especially one who has extremely potent venom. And yes, she is very beautiful, the blues and the yellows on her body, but again, not a species recommended for your first tarantula. And now for the last part of the video, I'm going to talk about where can you buy your first tarantula and how much is it going to cost you. And so before you do any buying, make sure that you know which species of tarantula that you want, and also look up the other things that will be needed for the tarantula, like, an enclosure, substrate, food, like food items like cockroaches, crickets, whatever. Things of that nature. And make sure that you have a kind of, good idea of how to take care of a tarantula. This is going to obviously improve once you get the tarantula, but just know basic care requirements for the tarantula that you're getting. Now, the first place to buy a tarantula, and kind of the place I don't really recommend, I've never done it myself, but is at a pet store. Now, many pet stores will often sell tarantulas, but the thing about them is that they usually to me, it's robbery. It'll be a super common species of tarantula, and it'll be double, sometimes triple the price of how much it would typically cost. And for that reason, I would stay away from purchasing at a pet store unless they are offering the species at a reasonable price. Then, that's fine. But from what I have personally seen and witnessed myself, it's just like highway robbery. It really is. But the second place that you can purchase a tarantula from is online. There are many, many sites online that offer live arthropods, especially tarantulas. There's a huge market for tarantulas if you were unaware. But what you would do is you would take the species that, that you want, your desired species, go in on the search bar and type in, let's say, I'm just throwing, for example, Brachypelma hamorii for sale. You would type that in on the search bar, and once you click enter, you will be greeted with, I'm sure, a whole bunch of different websites that are selling Brachypelma hamorii. And you can do that with just about any species. There's some species that are going to be more hard to come by, but if you're getting a beginner species, then you'll probably have no problem in finding the species that you want online. Make sure you do your research on the website, do your review on it. Make sure it is reputable and not a scam site, because I've been on a few, never purchased from them, but I've been on a few that were offering the craziest, most just super rare, different types of arthropods. And I'm like, there's no way. There's absolutely no way. And when I did some deep diving into the website, sure enough, it was not legit at all, people bought from that website and they, got their money taken. I believe it was Reptile Haven or Heaven, Reptile Heaven or Haven, one of those. It was something like that. But if you know the website, then you know exactly what I'm talking about. Never bought from them, but yeah, stay away from things like that. Do your due diligence, do your research. But the third place that I recommend, and it's my favorite place to go to purchase arthropods, are reptile expos. If you don't know what a reptile expo is, it is basically kind of like a convention center where vendors set up tables and they sell mainly reptiles and amphibians, but there's a lot of people there that usually sell like tarantulas, scorpions, and other kinds of arthropods as well, even though it's called a reptile expo. They don't just sell exclusively reptiles. But what's good about those is that you can purchase your tarantula from a breeder. Typically, most of them are breeders. You can ask questions. A lot of the times, they're super friendly. They'll give you tips. You can pick out the size of your tarantula. You can pick out, obviously, the species, and you can pick up other things as well. You can pick up enclosures there. They usually sell enclosures. And so reptile expos are great when buying your first tarantula because it's a hands-on experience. You can talk to the breeder, the seller, and get a lot of useful information. Now, when it comes to the pricing of your tarantula, there's a couple different factors that are going to weigh in on how much it's going to be. So excluding the enclosure, the substrate, and all that other stuff, I'm not including that. What's going to determine the price is the size of your tarantula, okay? Basically, what I mean by size is kind of like the stage. So slings or spiderlings, baby tarantulas, are always going to be cheaper than juveniles and adults. So spiderlings are going to be cheaper, but they're also going to be very small and more delicate and fragile in terms of care. Juvenile tarantulas, such as this one, are going to be more expensive than slings or spiderlings, and they're going to be more hardy when it comes to care. Now, adult tarantulas are going to be the most expensive, but the reason for that is because tarantulas take a very long time to grow. Their progression in life is pretty slow, and so the larger and older the tarantula is, typically it's going to be the most expensive as opposed to juveniles and slings. So it makes sense. The smaller and younger it is, the cheaper. The older and larger it is, the more expensive. So what's great about reptile expos is not only can you choose the species of tarantula you want, but you can also choose the stage or the size of the tarantula, and you can also choose the sex of the tarantula as well. A lot of times the vendors will label the sex of the tarantula. Females are always going to live longer than males, and that goes with all tarantulas. Male tarantulas usually live only around like 2 to 3 years, and then the females, depending on the species, will live over 10 to 20, sometimes even longer than that, years. It's crazy. Not only is the age of your tarantula going to dictate the price, but also the species as well. So many different species, common species, are going to be fairly affordable, whereas some of the more rare species of tarantulas are going to be higher in price. Now, typically, if this is your first tarantula species, obviously it's going to be a recommended beginner species. It's not going to be super expensive, especially if you get a juvenile or even, it all depends. I can't even speak for that. It really all depends. Because there's some, I've seen Arizona blonde tarantulas, Aphanopelma chalcodes, which I recommended earlier in the video. I've seen adults go for around like, I'd say $60, $70, which is not bad at all, especially for an adult. And that is because it is a beginner species. Something like an adult Goody Sapphire tarantula, female, is going to be like $400, something like that, Now, not only is the size and species going to dictate the price, but what it all comes down to is the seller. So the seller or the vendor is ultimately going to be the one that is going to determine how much your tarantula is going to be. Now, I've been to sellers who have sold arthropods, not just tarantulas, but just arthropods in general, things that should have been like $300, $400, and I've gotten for like $150. It really all depends on how much they're going to price their things at. So, just when you go to a reptile expo, I always recommend just going down the lane, all around, just go throughout the whole place before buying anything so that you can price out what you want, in your head or on your phone, whatever. And because there's going to be people selling usually the same things, so you're going to have a few different tarantula vendors who are going to be selling the tarantula that you want, and their prices are most likely going to vary. So obviously go with the one that is cheaper. But again, these are just my recommendations. If you're unfamiliar with where you can find a reptile expo, you can just go online and type in reptile expo near me, and you can find out the date in which one is being held. They're usually like once every 2 months or so, but yeah, just go online. You could usually find one that is near you. Alright, so that is going to conclude today's video. If you have any further questions, things that I didn't cover in this video, please feel free to ask me in the comments, whether it's about tarantulas or just whatever it is, and I'll do my best to answer it. So if you enjoyed this video, if you could please leave a like and a comment, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell icon to turn on post notifications. That way you're alerted every time that I post a new video. Follow me on Instagram at Kelvin Wiley and also on TikTok at Kelvin_Wiley. Check out my website, kelvinwiley.net, and I will see you guys in the next video.